Precious Chipudi. Of course, it's a beautiful, wet Friday morning. And let's start off with the Vanguard newspaper. Vanguard is leading with Tinubu suspend Finance Act, halts 5% excise tax on telecoms. The writer says President committed to reviewing compliance about multiple taxes, says Alake. Our aim is to increase the productive activities, not taxing poverty. That's coming from Adedeji. NECA excited, ask for more. It will relieve Nigerian businesses of undue burden. And that's coming from Nasima. Financial analysts appraise spillover impact. On page 8, student loan. Don't hike tuition fees. Rep warns tertiary institution. On page 9, electricity manufacturers kick against use of $155 million World Bank loan for meter import. Insecurity, troop kill 51 terrorists, bandits, ESN militants in firefight. And we can also see a photo story showing the commendation service for late Otumba Balogun. Sit at home, security operatives ensure force, beef up security, police presence increases in Enugu. We won't tolerate any breach of peace in Abia. Presidency explains Tinubu meetings with opposition figures. You can read that on page 8. Kano Anti-Graft Agency invites Ganduje over alleged dollar video. And lastly, on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, we have CBN warns bank over Russia, Iran, Cameroon transaction. All right, so let's take a look at the Nation newspaper. The Nation is leading with Tinubu suspend key tax measures to ease hardship. And the writer says the presidency explains four executive order, no tax raised without consultation. The executive order is the Finance Act effective date variation 2023, the Custom Excise Tariff variation amendment 2023, suspension of 5% excise tax on telecoms, escalation on locally manufactured products, suspension of grain tax on single-use plastic and bottles. Inside, we also have import tax adjustment levy on certain vehicles suspended. Banks abandon uniform ATMs, OTC transaction policy. Why president is meeting opposition figures by Alake. The writer says the minister list not ready. Stories above. Chidoka urges Mesoma to come clean. Ex-minister ready to plead. INEC files a 6-count charge against Adamawa Rec. Shetima, army to get full support in terrorism battle. Lastly, on the front page of the Nation, UTME top performer gets varsity scholarship. All right, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian is leading with advocacy for pay on debt law heightened as unclaimed funds near 1.3 trillion naira. Asset declaration, court grants Abba Kyari 50 million naira bail. Temporary relief as Tinubu defers suspend Buhari's 11th hour tax drive. Kano Anti-Graft Agency invites Ganduje for questioning. Stories above. Nigeria's at the 3 trillion naira stock market undervalued, trading at discount. Fuel subsidy. Doctors want 550% salary increase. Threatening strike July 19th. You can read more on that story on page 3. Well, let's have a look at the Punch newspaper. The Punch is leading with a rising inflation. Private sector demands more waivers as Tinubu suspend taxes. The writer says vehicle import, telecom, manufactured goods, services blocked via 4 executive orders. Manufacturers, telcos welcome relief. Federal government says suspension to alleviate hardship. And we can also see a photo story showing federal government promises to tackle military equipment shortage, poor funding. And on page 30, Falcons protest the council bonuses, threatening to boycott World Cup. Stories above. Tinubu 30 million others join Zuckerberg's thread. You can see that on page 9. NNPCL plans another $8 billion international gas pipeline. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, money laundering. CBN places Cameroon, Vietnam, Croatia on watch list. And that's all we can take on the front pages of the papers. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining me still today in the news on Vanguard Live, I am Precious Chugudi. And joining me to talk about some of the stories on the front page of our paper is our correspondent, John Bosco Agbakuru. He's going to be talking more about the president suspending Finance Act. And John Bosco, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm carrying you.
All right, okay. Can you give us your report on, tell us more on the four signed executive orders by the president?
Okay, thank you for having me. Yeah, yesterday, being Thursday, 6th July, the presidential spokesperson for the president, alongside some of the president's aides, addressed journalists covering the state house. Remember that before President Muhammad Buhari, exited office, even in May, there are some executive orders, that were put in place. Some of these orders were meant to generate revenue for the country. For instance, the Finance Act 2023, which I think was, done around May before President Buhari exited office. And the president, the then president then, had the intention of, trying to increase the revenue base of the country, for infrastructural development. The such others, that we have signed, have, created a lot of, problems and complaints from the business community. For instance, the tax changes were introduced through the customs exercise tariff variation amendment order. That is what is called the executive order. But as I yesterday, Mr. President, the sitting president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, looked into some of those orders, that have to do with taxation. And because of the complaints, many Nigerians, especially the business class, the business community, have been lamenting that they have been overtaxed. A lot of multiple taxation here and there. President Tinubu now had to sign into law for executive orders. One of the first one is the Finance Act, a 30 days variation. The order that was found by President Buhari, there was a provision in the law that the implementation has to start 90 days after it was signed into law, so that the masses will be conscientized, will be informed on the new law coming on board. But such a thing appears not to have happened. So the thing was, generating a lot of problems, for the country, and then even the manufacturers themselves were lamenting, and some of them were closing down. So this new order now, that Finance Act, now it has been deferred. The president has suspended its implementation and the commencement date. Now in the commencement date, now it should be September 1, instead of May 28, as the previous administration, did it. Based on what the law says, based on the provision of the law, that we must tell the people 90 days, before the implementation. So President Tinubu has decided to allow the people, be aware of this law. So the implementation date now is September 1. To ensure adherence to that 90 days minimum advance notice for tax changes as contained in the 2017 National Tax Policy. Also, the Customs Exercise Tariff Variation Amendment Order, the President signed this executive order also yesterday. This has also shifted the commencement date of the tax changes from March 27, 2023 to August 1, 2023, and also in line with the National Tax Policy that says you have to give notice of 90 days. Then there was also the order suspending the 5% exercise tax on telecommunication services, as well as the exercise duty escalation on local manufactured products. Remember that there was that ambiguity on who and which we pay some of these taxes from the past. So yesterday it was made clear that anybody that doesn't have all these business people, if you don't have a business turnover of 25 million in a year, you should not be taxed. So the President Tinubu has made it clear, because he's saying that he had already promised the people that he needs to create a conducive environment for business to thrive. In his commitment also to creating a business-friendly environment, the President also ordered the suspension of the newly introduced green tax by way of exercise tax on single-use plastics, including plastic containers and bottles. addition, the president has also ordered the suspension of import tax adjustment levy on certain vehicles. There are some vehicles, that are used for commercial purposes to carry, people from work, to carry traders, to carry farmers, such vehicles, the president said that, there's no need, to increase tax on them because the masses that are going to bear the brunt. If there is any tax because of them, the whole thing will go to the masses. So the president, decided to ensure that such taxes are suspended from now. Now, the president also said that they are not coming, they were not elected in the taxing poverty and production. That the country, the administration is going to promote productivity. So there's no need to tax poverty. So these are some of the things yesterday, the president said that for now, some of these executive orders and we suspend all those taxations to ensure that people are not overburdened and people are not having, being charged in many ways. For one item, we charge people in different in many ways. So these are some of the orders, Mr. President signed yesterday.
All right. Can you tell us about how maybe the finance body or economic body have reacted to the suspension of these taxes?
Yeah, I think it is a welcome development both on the business community and even the working class. The labor unions. They look at, like I told you earlier, we discovered that some manufacturers have closed shop. Some of them cannot, cope in the coastal environment where there is multiplicity of taxes. So some of them could not meet up with the day-to-day challenges. So they closed up. I think as I yesterday, both Manufacturing Association of Nigeria and the other business, the other business community, they have been, commending the president for taking the first step to ensuring that some of those encumbrances that have been affecting their business environment, have been removed. Even the labor unions, these are some of the things because they say that, they have been overtaxed. It's a little minimum wage of 30,000 naira, which cannot take care of anything. For instance, the tax of those vehicles, when you tax a vehicle, then it means that the price of transportation will increase. So these people have commended the president, for taking the bold step.
All right. In all of this, the people are just waiting for the rollout of palliatives as promised by the government. Thank you so much, John Bosco, for that report.
Thank you for having me.
Moving on, we'll talk to our correspondent Steve Oko as he tells us more about what's happening in the southeast region concerning seat at home. Steve, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good morning.
Good morning. Please, can you tell us more about security operatives in show of force in the southeast?
Yes, the situation down here in the southeast is such that everybody is just afraid. There is apprehension on air. There is tension everywhere. People are not settled because you wouldn't know what will happen to you if you move around. And but we must also commend the efforts of the security operatives in different parts, in different states in the southeast. They've engaged in show of force, moving around the streets to reassure residents that their security is guaranteed. But for me, that is not all that people need, because sometimes some of these enforcers could just sweep in a town like they did in Abakaliki, Ebonyi State, and parts of Tinubu 2-3 days ago. So nobody would want to be a victim. That's why people are more like trying to be very precautious. It's better you stay indoors, or you make sure that you don't go outside the vicinity, maybe to for any reason, so that you stay alive. So that's just the situation. Everybody is apprehensive. We don't know what next. It's just like people are counting days. Let the 7 days of the sit at home come and pass, so that normal activities can resume.
All right. Can you tell us about Ebonyi State? According to the story, we're seeing that they said normalcy has started to, creeping back in, the metropolis as, residents are seeing going around their normal businesses.
You see, in Nigeria, we have two different worlds. We have the world of the politicians and then the reality world. Most time, these people in power would always want to say things that their superiors would like or like to hear. The truth is that on the streets, there is fear everywhere. People are not yet, even if the government is giving all the assurances, nobody wants to take the risk. So, Abonyi State is one of the hotbeds. Yes, and if they tell you that normalcy has returned, the truth is that people are indoors, people are at home, they don't want to take that risk. A number of people are just want to stay off trouble. But government will always want to a kind of have that impression that everything is okay. People down there know that as long as Nnamdi Kanu remains incarcerated, contrary to the judgment and orders of the court, that 90% of residents of the Southeast, both at home and abroad, of course, are not comfortable with that. Even though majority may not support some of the modalities being adopted by the enforcers, the truth remains that quite a number of people feel that for sure Nnamdi Kanu has no reason to be kept behind the bars, in perpetuality. So that is why people are somehow, even though some observe this situation out of fear, some others feel that it is the right thing to do. So, but government is on its own. Government is on its own. The people actually are not with the government because they feel that the government has not been there for them, but for the few that benefit from government. That's why most times they say A and then the people go there to do B. I remember last year, my brother was almost lynched in the same Abakaliki because the government had given them assurances that they should go on, go about their businesses, that there is security, there is nothing to be afraid of. But unfortunately for that young man, he went out that day, his car was burnt, and then in fact, he stayed for months and months and months in such a horrible situation. In fact, it is better imagined than to tell of his experiences. So, that's why people are very, very, very careful not to listen to all those paper tiger assurances by government.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve Oko, for that report. And that's all we can take. Let's take a look at Mr. and Mrs. Before we go. Mrs. is speaking. She says, I'm just coming from the ATM. There was no money in your account. What happened? And Mr. Reply says, I always tell you to discuss every matter with me before taking actions. Now you let an ordinary machine tell you what to do. And, of course, as Mr. and Mrs., they always have a way of coming for each other. And that's how we can take for today. Also, remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. To find out up-to-date stories, go to our website, www.vanguardngl.com, to find out more. I am Precious Chukudi. Make sure you have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for watching.